This is the DJI OM4, and you might be thinking, that looks very similar to the DJI Osmo Mobile 3. Well, it is. However, they've now added a magnet to make it super easy to attach your phone. All right, guys, let's get into it. Now, before we get into the details around this gimbal, let me just show you some B-roll that I shot with it down at the beach. Before we get into what makes this gimbal so different, I just want to go through why you would even use a gimbal with a smartphone, especially now that smartphones are getting better and better with their stabilization. One of the key things with a gimbal is that it keeps your horizon perfectly level. This footage is shot just walking. On the left is the iPhone stabilization and on the right is the gimbal. And here's just a sample of running so you can see how much smoother you can get the footage by using a gimbal. I also find that when I'm using a gimbal, I plan out my shots a little bit more. It's more of a mental thing, but when I have that object in my hand, I start thinking through how the shots are gonna tie together more, rather than just when I'm using my phone, I'm just grabbing quick shots. Even with the best stabilization in a smartphone, you're still not gonna get full gimbal-like control, and also you're not gonna get things like tracking. So if you set this down and turn on your tracking, the gimbal can move freely and follow you wherever you're going. And also for just trying to get better looking B-roll shots, I find that using a gimbal makes it easier to get shots like pans, moving through spaces, panning from one space down to another. Just having this tool does make the process easier. Even if you have the best stabilization in your phone, you have to be a lot more controlled to make sure that you get that perfect move. So a gimbal does allow you to get smoother footage. So right off the bat, I'm sure you're noticing that the OM4 has a different naming scheme. So DJI has moved away from the Osmo Mobile and now they're just doing OM. So you're gonna see OM4, which is essentially the same thing as Osmo Mobile 4. But when you look at this gimbal, it is very similar. It has the exact same design and layout as the original DJI Osmo Mobile 3, but the biggest difference is this magnetic mount. So it makes it super easy to take your phone on and off the gimbal. You'll either use the clamp mount, which just attaches to your phone, or you could use a magnetic sticky that goes on the back of your phone. Now, they don't suggest that you use this on a case. However, when I've been shooting, I did put the sticky on my case for the XS Max, and it still seemed to work great. But one of the key things with this gimbal now is the motors are stronger. So you'll be able to use attachments like lenses on the front. So let's go through a quick overview of this gimbal and kind of all the features that you have at your fingertips. The DJI OM4 packs up super small, and you could fit it in your pocket. Now, it's even smaller than the DJI Osmo Mobile 3 because you don't have to keep the phone holder attached while you're carrying it. Now, on the front of this gimbal, you have 3 buttons. You have a joystick, you have your record button, and then you have a mode button. If you double click this mode button, it goes from vertical to horizontal, so super fast to make that transition. The record button will start and stop your record or take photos, and then your joystick moves the gimbal in any direction. And I've found that I really like using this joystick to create smooth shots like a pan or a tilt. Now on the left-hand side, you have a zoom function, so you can zoom in and out, and on the back you have a trigger. So this gimbal is normally in follow all mode. That means that wherever you point the gimbal, the camera's gonna follow, but you hold the trigger and it's going to lock the motors so that you can move in any direction, but the camera stays in the same spot. Now, what's also cool with this trigger is you just click it once and it's automatically going to start your active track. So just point it at whatever your subject is, click the trigger once, and then you'll start tracking that object. But even though there's not a ton of buttons on this gimbal, you have all the functions that you need to get smooth shots without having to dig into the app. And if you do want to control your image a little bit more, play around with your settings more, then you can do that in the DJI Mimo app. Now, obviously what makes this gimbal unique is this magnetic mount. And I've been testing it in a bunch of different scenarios. And the one thing that I think that a lot of people are going to be hesitant about is the fact that it's a magnet, so it could pop off. Now, when I've been playing around with this, I've been shooting how I normally shoot, and the phone's never fallen off. It definitely has a strong magnet, and you can see like when you try to pull it, it takes a little bit of effort to get it off. But having the magnet does make it super easy to get up and filming. So when you're powered on, you can just pull the phone off, the gimbal will automatically shut down. You put the phone back on, you double click the back trigger, and then you're ready to start filming again. So I think the key thing with this gimbal is that it's super quick and easy to use. And when you're using a phone gimbal, I think having something that is fast and something that doesn't have a whole lot of hassle is going to be more ideal, because when you're shooting with your phone, you don't want to have to be attaching all of these different objects, and you don't want to take a bunch of time to do it because your phone has a good camera and has good stabilization anyways. So this is just like an added benefit to get smoother shots. And because of the magnet, it does make the whole process seamless. So you just pop this out of your pocket or your purse or your bag, wherever you're keeping the small little gimbal, and then you just pop on the magnet and go. Now, I think DJI is very smart for incorporating a magnet into this design, because that just opened the door for a ton of new products to come out with phones. I think the biggest thing that will make working with this gimbal that much easier would be a case that actually has a magnet built in that also could attach all the lenses that you want to use. So having the case integrated, you never have to worry about putting stickies on or anything like that. That would make this process so much better. And definitely, I think now that they've built this gimbal, whether it's DJI or someone like Moment, you're gonna start seeing more and more cases come out that have magnets built in so that the whole flow is seamless. Personally, working with this gimbal, I think it works great. It does exactly what I need it to do. It gets smooth shots. The actual button here that allows you to pan the camera around and tilt it works smooth, so you can just sit in one spot and get a nice pan from left to right, up and down. And then also the active track has been upgraded. So they put active track 3.0 in this gimbal. It's a step above 2.0, so it tracks you a little bit better. So guys, I'll put a link down below in the description to where you can check out more info about the DJI OM4. And for anyone that wants to get smoother shots, I definitely think this is worth the investment. All right guys, I highly suggest you check out this video right here. It goes into how you create YouTube videos with your smartphone. All right guys, I'll see you over there.